Good morning, friends and family. Welcome back for day 4 of our teaching devotion for this week. We've been talking about abundant love and how love casts away our fear. It defeats it, destroys it, and obliterates it. Fear can be gone only in the perfect love of God. As a person who has dealt with intense fear, this promise is absolutely amazing to me, that the love of God completely surrounds that and deletes it from my life as if it was never there. We talked yesterday about how fear of the past is conquered, and today we're going to talk about how fear of the present is conquered. Every day you meet people who have experienced paralyzing fear, fear that simply held them captive, held them in place that they could not move because they were so afraid. They are unable to move forward with their lives because of the things swirling around them. There are present struggles, circumstances, and challenges to our faith. But because the Lord loves us and is with us, we have no fear in defeat. Do not be afraid to reach out for all that God has for you. Do not let the issues surrounding you keep you from pressing forward and pursuing God's plan for your life. Fear of the present. While we talked yesterday about how fear of the past is mistakes that we've made, or maybe our heritage that has covered us in fear, fear of the present is our own choices. Fear of the present is situations surrounding us right now. It's not necessarily wrong things that I've done, but rather it's situations I have no control over. Maybe it's a sickness, maybe it's a financial hardship, maybe it's an unimaginable circumstances, something that you never thought would happen to you, yet you are living in the middle of it. And even there, in your darkest moment, in your hardest trial, the love of God can cast away that fear. Again, going back to Mephibosheth, love conquered Mephibosheth's continual fear of the present. We talked about how he was crippled. We talked about how he could not take care of himself, and that was a very difficult trial. I know we know people who have conquered things and been able to move past that and done amazing things with their lives despite their handicaps, but that just simply was not the mindset that Mephibosheth seemed to have. He was held captive by that fear. Mephibosheth realized that David was not going to hold the sins of his grandfather against him, his past, but he still felt unqualified to be invited to live in the palace. He still feared what rejection he might face in his present physically challenged position. The lame in that day were not seen as valuable in that ancient society. They were treated as dispensable and unworthy of proper respect. That was the world that he lived in. Maybe he was afraid to go out because he knew that people would laugh at him or throw stones at him or treat him in a very rude way. It was so bad that they would do business with the people in line after him. They would sell things to everybody except him because he was crippled. There must be something wrong with him. And that mindset, that fear, is what he was expecting to experience from David in the king's house. And maybe he might have even thought, okay, well, David might treat me well, but what about his children? What about the servants in the palace? What about the people who sit around that table with him? He had a lot to overcome. But how did David treat him? How did he choose to look at him? We know how. David said, come sit at the king's table every day. And if you've ever sat at a table, where are your legs? They're underneath that table. And so sitting at that table surrounded by everybody else, nobody could see his handicap. Nobody knew. He was covered in the place that he felt most vulnerable. And David provided that place for him to be away from that fear of his present, fear of his condition, fear of being vulnerable in front of everybody. He gave him a place where he could have his pride back. And I think that's a beautiful thing, and that's something the house of God will do for you too. Maybe you felt like there was a time when, I may be looked at wrong, I've messed this up, and everybody can see it. It's something outward that everybody's going to know. But it doesn't matter. There's no place in the love of God where it says, I'm going to hold you accountable for something in your life. No, God's love erases anything that would cause us to be ashamed or fearful. And if you need to experience that love today, I know a God who can give it to you. We would love to talk with you. Why don't you message this page? We'll set up online Bible studies with you. We'll do whatever we need to do to show you the love of Christ and how powerful that love is in your life. God bless you, and we'll see you again tomorrow for day 5.